Following on from the last practice where we created curtain walls, in this practice we're going to focus on placing components. I click my component button. There are some families already loaded into this file, but we want to focus on creating the system furniture shown in the handout. So we want to add all of these components. We have a panel here and here, overhead storage and pedestal, etc., etc. So all of the families for this system furniture pod are located in the Learning Hub. So back with Revit, I'm going to click on my Insert tab. So I've escaped out of any command. No command is active right now. I click Insert and Load Family. From here I go and find my component families and system furniture families. Highlight all of them and open them up. Again, highlight all of them, click Open. These are saved in an older version of Revit, so Revit will load them in. As you know, you can't save Revit as an older version. So a lot of families you download from the internet will have an older version so that they can be as flexible as possible if you're modifying an old set. Okay, so now that's complete. Go to my Architecture tab, click Component, and I'm going to start with my work surfaces. I could scroll up and down until I find work surface, or I could just type in the word work surface. Here's my bigger one. I'm going to place it off to the side. And then I'll switch to the smaller work surface, which is this one right here. And I'll click spacebar and place it. Just like all the things we place in Revit, you place it roughly in the right spot. Then afterwards you hit Move, snap to the corner, snap to the corner. Work on your precision, make sure that's exactly where you want it to go. Now let's add some panels. Component, and I'm just going to search for the word panel. And here we go. Panels are posts. And I want to go for the taller one, 66 inches, put it on the right, and go for the shorter one, 42 inches, put it on the left. Doesn't look very different in plan. We'll move it into place and then we'll just check it in 3D. So I'll select that, move it, snap to the endpoint, snap to the endpoint. Now look at that in 3D. This is what we've got so far. Our two work surfaces and our two panels. They look the same in plan, but one is actually taller. The next thing we'll add is some storage. So I'll hit my component and search for the word storage. I have a storage unit. And notice the door is on the bottom, so I press spacebar to get it on the side I like. Click it and move it from the endpoint to the SE, snap endpoint. And the next thing I'll try to place is my pedestal, mobile pedestal. I'll drop it here, then select it and move it into place. And then we have overhead storage. So I'm going to search for the word overhead. And there we go. I'll select that one, move it into place. And in 3D, there we go. We have a few more pieces to add before we're finished with this piece. So let's go back to our plan and we'll add a chair. So we have an executive chair at the front, nice and comfortable. So we'll drop that chair there. And we're going to put a keyboard, monitor, and phone on the desk. These are ones that I just found online, so please don't ever spend time modeling something like a keyboard or a phone. If you can easily find it, then you could drop it in. I know a lot of you don't recognize this as a phone, but that's what phones used to look like. You still see them in a lot of offices. Flat screen monitor, drop it there. And finally, a keyboard. So searching through components and naming them in an easy way to recognize can save you a bunch of time. Now those components were ones I found online. I just dropped them in. If I go to 3D, I think this is a great design. You could have someone lying on their tummy working while someone's sitting at the desk. But no, we don't want those on the floor. That's no good. The work surface is 29 inches high. So I could just hold Control and select the three of those guys and change your offset to 29 inches. And now they pop up on top of my desk. So that's my workstation. I've used all those components to place them. If I do a box around, I see that there's actually 11 of them. Now, I don't want to have to move 11 objects and keep track of 11 objects. So what I would do is make them a group. So I select all of those, do a box around everything. And up here I have a create assembly and a create group. This is where a lot of people make a mistake. We don't want an assembly. We want to create a group. This is the button we want to push, create group. And we give it a name, so let's call this one workstation. You might put in a size if you got into many different kinds of workstations. And then this is the insertion point. I can just drag that and drop it somewhere else. Or I could even take it and drop it on the midpoint of this panel on the right-hand side. So now I've created that as a model group. I can use that in my design. So I click on my Place Model Group button. So Architecture, Model, Place Model Group. And I'm going to go for the midpoint of this wall. I take this and click my Mirror command, Mirror Pickaxes, and click here. Now, if I was using this model for quantities, I would now realize that I have two different families, two different sets of these panels right on top of each other, and that would give me a double count. So if I didn't want that, I would edit type and duplicate this one, call it workstation, no panels. And then I could edit this group and delete these two pieces. Oops. The two panels. And when I click finish, now I have two versions of that same group. And I can move this from my, try that again, move this from the insertion point to this midpoint. And there we go. I'm going to copy those ones. So I hold Control to select both of them, copy it multiple times from there, straight across 6 feet and 6 more feet. And now I have that updated. If I were to select this one and edit the group, take this and rotate it, I could just rotate it a little bit. When I hit finish, the 3 other versions of that update. If I was being really clever, and maybe I would have grouped this workstation without the panels and then grouped it with the panels afterwards. So they'd work as nested groups, and these two would be identical pieces. So you can play around with that, think about the best organization for yourself. And let's look at that in 3D. You can imagine now, if you showed your client this on the screen, it's a lot easier for them to understand the layout, and maybe even switch, give them a bit of a shaded view so they can try to understand what they're looking at. If we get into something like VR, they could move around and look at these without having to just imagine on a 2D plan what they're looking at. Great tool for communicating with clients. So that's adding components. We created those into a model group. What you would do is continue to create the components to finish the layout. So on the last page of the handout, you can see the same model groups are placed up here, and then we have a bunch of component families. So I'd like you to place all of those component families around the project. When you're finished, it's going to look something like mine. So I've given you every component family you need for this one. But I've also focused on my plan. I only care about the plan. So if I look here, I only created this with just 3 different tables, which is obviously not how a desk would be done in an office like this. But I have 3 different tables around this area because in plan, it looks great. In 3D, yeah, we got a bit of work to do, but maybe we don't continue with this version, so it will be a waste of time over modeling it. Same thing with reception. I just wanted to give a taste of what reception looks like. But in 3D, you have a look at it and realize that it's a lot of just floating work surfaces. So later I'll come back and modify my millwork. So that's it for this week's practice. I'll leave a note on the Learning Hub about the next steps in your term project. Thanks.